Hey guys, this is Adrian from PDC coming at you with yet another video. Today we're going to be doing something super cool. We're going to take a look at Red Purple Trafalgar Law. I've been playing this deck, I've been testing it at locals on the sim, practicing with my teammates. And I think this is a very strong deck. It's got decent matchups into Saka. It's really good into yellow, and I think that it's a sleeper pick. Believe me, I've spent a lot of time in the last 2 weeks figuring out the best deck list to give you guys the best chance to win with this leader. And yeah, I'm here to share it. But before we get into it, I do want to, say a couple things. Next week, we are doing a win a box tournament with co-hosting with Peng Pirates and also sponsored by Forge and Fire Gaming. If you guys, like online tournaments, next Wednesday, $10 entry, 32 cap, win a box tournament. Definitely worth your while, right? Another thing is we have officially launched our Patreon. It's not just me, it's my entire team. We're basically opening up our knowledge to you guys, and to celebrate our grand opening, right? We have 15 limited spots. It's a more expensive tier, but you will be able to have a 30-minute coaching session with one of our team members. I think it's very worthwhile looking for. But regardless, I appreciate everyone supporting this channel. It's been a blast. I definitely a lot more views and watch times than I've even imagined when we were starting this. So thank you guys so much. Right, like the results, like you guys are just motivating me to make more videos and make more awesome content. Okay, now that we're done with that, yeah, let's take a look at this list. So I've looked at some Asian lists. I've looked at some local lists, and I think this is the best one going forward. First up, we have 10 2K counters. We have 4 Otamas, 4 Shachi Penguins, and 2 Brooks. So there's a couple of 2K counters that people use, right? Mainly Sanji. I think Sanji has great utility. It's mainly against Starve. When other leaders try to basically not swing at you when you play Zorojiro, you can kind of use Sanji to basically take your top life and get rolling with your ramp, right? But what I found is, do you ever really want to play Sanji? And the answer is no. This deck in particular, without Radical Beams, we don't use Radical Beams because they are more often than not dead cards. Since we're so Dawn intensive, we need all the 2K counters we can get, right? And having it at 10 is absolutely the minimum you can do. We have 3 Zorojiros instead of 4 because in some of the matchups, it's really hard to play the card. It can be starved by Enel. It basically is useless against Sakazuki. You don't ever want to play that. And so, we're putting it down to 3 just so that we can have other playable cards and give room to other things. Next up we have, pretty much the staples of this deck. Every list plays it: 4 Shachi Penguins, 4 Beppos. If you don't see a Beppo or a Shachi when you have your starting hand, you basically want to do a hard mulligan. That's basically it, right? You have 4 Ustas Kids and 4 Queens. This deck in particular really needs draw power since it exhausts itself so fast, and so that those 4 Queens are pretty much your core draw engine for the deck, right? And I think here's where the ingenuity or like the uniqueness of this list really comes into play. We have 2 Trafalgar Laws that are -2Ks. Really good to just combo with your other debuff cards so that you could get your opponent's characters down to the 3,000 threshold, and you can use your leader effect to shambles and bottom deck their characters, right? We have 2 Porcas the Aces. This card is kind of like the boss monster of your deck. I wasn't sold on Ace until recently, but it's just really good into Sakazuki. It's just a great card to play, and it also kind of acts as like a pseudo Gordon, right? Your 5th and 6th Gordon. Normally you play Gordon, you use its effect to minus something, and then you bottom deck a card. Well, instead of doing that, you play a 7-cost Ace, have a 7K body on board, and basically have 2 times the Gordon's ability. So I think it's just a very high utility card that is really good. The problem is that it is very expensive. At 7 cost, you might not play it every single game. So that's why I think 2 instead of 3 is better. Then we have like the events, right? We have 2 when we're out at sea. I think this card is really good for you to dig inside your deck and find the right cards. A lot of people are worried about the searchability of the card, but I think because it covers 3 archetypes, like Hard Pirates, Kid Pirates, and Straw Hat Pirates, yeah, it's going to be very consistent when you use it for search, right? And it's 1 Dawn, so even if it whiffs, I think you're fine with that, because you can look for so many great cards. You can look for your Zoros, you can look for your 5 cost kids, your 2k counters, you can look for all of them, right? So it's just a really good card, and I think it's heavily underrated, especially in your turn 1, and sometimes in your turn 2. You don't really have too much to play, and I'll kind of go over that in a bit. Next up, we have 3 Fire Fist and 1 Gamma Knife. Honestly, with how many debuffs are in the deck now, right? Like the debuff for 4 cost Trafalgar Law, as well as the 2 Porka's Aces. I think this is why we're running a little bit more Fire Fists. And this is a special tech against Saka. Gamma Knife is more usually against other decks like Yellow, right? But you're already good into them. And so, I think it's a matter of balancing. But in general, you want at least 4 debuff events spells to kind of bolster your deck. Last up, I think the most interesting card is All-Star Calamities. This card is a 4 cost ramp and a draw 1. So it basically cycles through your hand, gives you an extra Dawn to work with, and does nothing else. So a lot of people would rather play Eins, which is a 4 cost 5k no counter character. And I think that's perfectly fine. So if you wanted to replace these 3 cards with Eins, that's a matter of preference. I prefer the ramp, and just because especially in the Saka matchup, I think there's a misconception that you want to flood the board, but no, because Saka can blow away everything that you have, and so sometimes you don't want to play anything at all, or you just want to play a single card. And so I believe that against Saka specifically, All-Star Calamities is better than Eins. Alright, so next up, I think I want to talk about the matchups. Sakazuki, everyone's wondering how Trafalgar Law does against it. So let me just preface this by saying, I don't think this is favored against Sakazuki, right? I don't think so at all. In fact, I think at best, this is a 45-55 matchup. What I will say is that, I've found like a good line to play against Sakas, and if they brick, right, especially the greedy builds that play 2 Kaidos, you can definitely have a good fighting chance to win. What you do there is pretty simple. You don't play anything until Dawn 5. You want to basically play around your 4 cost blocker Trafalgar Law, and threaten the chance of them losing 2 of the cards. Sometimes they might overplay it, sometimes they might play a certain way. Sometimes you might even consider not playing Law on the turn you can play it. Just because you know that it's dangling over their heads, they know that you have the Law, and you can mind game them. Another thing is, your turn 2, you just want to swing. You can swing 9k, you can swing 8k, depending on if you go first or second. But you don't want to play anything until you hit that Dawn 5. Then you play your kid out, and then you use your shambles, and you can put a 5 cost and a 4 cost on board. When you're able to put 4 and 4 on board at the same time, and anything above it, that's when it gets harder for Sakazuki to remove all your stuff. And that's basically it. You are essentially trading resources with Saka, and you're exhausting them while exhausting yours, and you're just trying to duke it out and see who comes out on top. Half the time, you got a good chance, right? Or half the time, you'll win. The next matchups that we're thinking about is probably Enel and Katakuri. So Katakuri, I think, is a free match for Law. It's heavily favored. I've played about a dozen to 24 games against good Katakuri players, and I think the tempo that Law provides is just really hard against Katakuri's early game, right? Which is not so great. Against Enel in particular, the more aggressive Enels are going to just straight up lose to you, similar to Katakuri. If you play against a good Enel that understands how to starve you, you might struggle a little bit. But I think that with Ace, and all these characters, you can still come up on top. I would say that Law is still slightly favored against those kind of NLs. Next up is some other tier 1.5 leaders like Pluffy, right? I think Pluffy is a really strong deck. I'd say that Pluffy is slightly favored into RP Law, but I'd say it's closer to a 50-50 more than anything. The way I see it is Pluffy has something called a God Curve, where he's able to play consecutive turns, Magellan, Poly, Kaido. If they play that, you have no chance of winning. That is the God Curve. No deck other than the Sakazuki is able to beat that, right? Fortunately for you, Pluffy also deals with some consistency issues, and more often, you'll find a good way to win. So I'd say it's more of a 50-50 matchup than anything. The other one is RP Luffy. I'd say that RP Luffy is similar in the 50-50 range. I think it's actually slightly more difficult than Pluffy. The thing to really worry about is that 10 cost Luffy. That 10 cost Luffy really hurts you, especially now I've taken out the rad beams and solely rely on the 10 2k counters. You can tech against red purple Luffy by adding the rad beams, and in that moment you will probably actually be favored in that matchup, but it really depends. You're balancing out what you're playing against and all that stuff. So yeah, that's the general rundown. I know that it was a little bit in depth, so we're gonna go straight to some gameplay footage. All right, what is up, guys? We are going on with our very first game. I'm gonna mulligan here, and we are going first. So as always, Katakuri here is a very, very good matchup for us. All we need to do is make sure to manage our Dawn and have good tempo on the board. 3 Dawn here. There's not much to play, so I'm just gonna go ahead and swing, full swing into it. We're not really looking to do anything outside of waiting to play our 5 Dawn. Sometimes, depending on the board state, we might delay our Captain Kid and play more high tempo stuff. But if we're able to squeeze out, okay, he's gonna swing for 7k. Usually in your first 2 life, you just want to take it. You want as many resources as possible. Right there we drew a Zoro. Usually you need at least 1 Zoro to win any of your games. And he's got a Charlotte Prospero. So there's about 2 options that we can do. We can play Trafalgar Law and get out a Shachi. I think that's the best option. But first, before we do anything, I think I'm gonna want to swing just to see, right? Sometimes it might not be the optimal move, but usually you just don't want to use your Dawn until you're committed to it. The difference of being able to do 6k swing and 5k swing, I think gets outweighed because of the amount of triggers that yellow might have. So if they trigger something really tough, then you kind of want to deal with it with your extra Dawn, right? That's how I see it. Here we just play Law to debuff it, and then we play a Shachi Penguin to keep ourselves at 4 Dawn. It's really, really important for us to get to that 6 Dawn mark. One, because hey, we have Ace, so we need to figure out if and when we can play that card. But usually you want to play Captain Kid and you want to play Gordon at the same turn, and utilize Kid's ability to basically give you an extra Dawn back. So AK swing, we're happily taking that, and we trigger a lead performer disaster. So one of the reasons why I play it above Law is because of the upside of it being in your trigger life, right? That makes everything crazy. So honestly, like right here, I think we can do all sorts of shenanigans. So first thing I'm going to do is swing into his life. I want to see if he's able to, push out a trigger. If so, then I think we might be able to deal with it. But we'll see. We'll see. There we go. So a Satori, right? So there's a couple things we can do. I think, yeah, we can play the Ace minus and then swing, or we could play the Usta's Kid and then get rid of one of probably the Sanji still, right? I think playing Ace has high tempo, but then you basically run out of Dawn. So I think what we're gonna do here is Okay, I'm committing to Kid here, right? So I have 5 Dawn. I'm going to use 1 for Gordon, so I have 1 available. So let's say right now I'm going to swing for 6. Well, I think what he's going to do is he's probably going to counter out with a 2K. If he blocks with Sanji, then that's great. Then he just basically loses the game. Right, counters out with a 2K. So what I'm going to do here, thing is, if I swing with 6K after playing the Kid, I risk the Thunderbolt. But I think here is fine. Since he's at 4 cards, even if he triggers a Thunderbolt, I think we're in the clear here, right? So I'm gonna play Gordon. I'm gonna send it to the bottom of my deck to get Sanji down to that 2,000 power. Then I'm going to bottom deck it and play. I think I could even do Zoro here, but right now I'm gonna do Beppo. The reason why I do Beppo instead of Shachi, right? Well, I think I have too much Dawn, but Beppo is essentially Sachi if you are sure that you're able to swing at it again, or swing at it for the first time in your next turn. Sunny, can you stop? Thank you. My cat was eating my other cat's food. All right, so we got him down to that sweet 2 life, and you know he's at 5 cards, so there's not too much that Katakuri can do. Okay, so these triggers are a little bit worrying just because he has bodies on board, but he does have to discard cards in his hand to do that. So he gave up his 7 cost mom, which probably means he has 8 cost Katakuri. So I have 2K counters on here. I can bait him. I think what I really want to do right now is probably bait him to play. I'm gonna block with my Kid, and I'm gonna bait him to put a lot of Dawn onto one of his characters, right? That way he can't play Katakuri. I think one thing that's really interesting about Katakuri, about Yellow in general, is that their 7 and 8 Dawn turn is quite predictable. They really want to play. They really want to play their boss monsters, right? Like this guy, he's swinging with 5K because he wants to play that Katakuri, and he's gonna bounce probably the Kid back, which is, you know, I think completely fine because right here we're just gonna flood as hard as we can. We're at 3 life. Essentially, I'm gonna be honest, nothing in this, like, nothing really scares me right now. So what we're gonna do here, we're gonna minus, right? This is why I think this boss monster, Porcas Ace, is so good in this deck, is because now we're gonna free swing into everything. So here I'm gonna swing into his Satori, which got debuffed by the Ace. That's gone. There's nothing you can do about it. We're gonna bottom deck the Parasparrow. The first one I'm gonna do is swing with Beppo. So unfortunately, what I did, I messed up on the Dawn. I should have done my minus so that I can use Beppo's effect to ramp 1 more. Hopefully that isn't a too big of a mistake. But yeah, he's in a tough spot because we have 1, 2, 3, 3 swings with an extra Zoro. So I want to see if he's able to trigger a Sanji. I do have in my pocket an Otama, and I know that I'll survive the next turn. So I'm good on that, right? If he triggers a Cracker, I'm gonna minus it instead, right? So I'm gonna get all my attacks, all my swings through. I think he's gonna counter out here. Hopefully he does. Okay, and so I think, okay, I'm actually gonna do a final swing. Honestly, I don't think it's necessary, but I don't think that there's. I probably should have not swung here. The reason why I don't want to swing here is I don't want to trigger unnecessary, anything unnecessary. I'm gonna use my shambles and play a Zoro. So if we look at the next turn, right, the best thing he can do is play Big Mom. If he does that, he'll swing and hurt a character. But he'll be at 2 life, and we'll have 4 up because he's gonna swing 5 with Katakuri, and we're just gonna counter out with Otama. So I think right here the best thing to do is just to end the turn. Yeah, it's really tough playing against Yellow because when you get to the higher level of gaming, like playing this, like the matchup, you want to figure out. Yeah, he just wants to play the Big Mom, right? So we're just gonna counter out right here. We're totally fine. We have at least 2 up, and we have a Zoro in the pocket, and we have 7 Dawn to work with in the next turn. It would have been 8 if I played it correctly, but it's fine. And I think here's where we just win it. So I'm gonna go ahead and swing 5. If he has a counter, So be it, right? We have Fire Fist. We're gonna bring out the Zoro afterwards. I think we're in a great spot. So yeah, I mean, if like, this is a typical Katakuri game. You kind of want to go first just so that you can have that tempo, but usually you can win even before this, right? In your 9 Dawn turn, or on their 9 Dawn turn, on their 10 Dawn turn. So there's not too much opportunity to play Big Mom. So yeah, we're just gonna keep swinging. You know, we're gonna swing 7 here. He can't counter out. We have all this Dawn to work with. GG's, good game, man. We're not gonna be BM here. Oh, Thunderbolt trigger. That's fine. We're gonna swing for 7k just because mathematically this is it. All right. So this is our first game. I'm gonna go queue up another meta game, and I'll see you guys in a bit. All right. Here we have red, purple, and yeah, let's go ahead and get started on it. So I mulligan because I didn't have a first turn play. It's really nice. I'm going to be able to search, so I'm probably going to be searching for that Usta's kid. I think that there's not much for me to play. Oh yes, so I'm going to be playing Zorojuro in my turn 2. So yeah, I mean, doing the searcher, playing Gordon. I think Gordon's going to be a really playable card later, so I want to get rid of a dead card, which is, you know, the 1-cost event searcher. So here I'm probably just going to play Zorojuro and, you know, end my turn. This matchup, I think it's like, you know, slightly favored towards red, purple Luffy with this given deck list, just not having those radical beams. But the way you want to play is you want to get their hand size down to that like below 5 range. Ooh, so we're gonna go ahead and take this. He's gonna swing and we're gonna counter out. Yeah, you want to get their hand size down so that, you know, they're in lethal position after they play that 10-cost Luffy, or even prevent them from playing it, right? Obviously, you know, 10-cost Luffy, Gear 5 Luffy is really, really strong. Definitely want to avoid, you know, going lethal on it. But in general, you know, not too much to worry about, right? We're just gonna ramp. We're gonna ramp away. So I'm gonna go ahead and swing at this and ramp up to 6. What we're gonna do, we're gonna start clearing the board in case he, you know, plays any Makinos. We're gonna play this 5-cost kid. We're gonna ramp. Nice thing about playing kid is that you get that 1 extra Dawn back. We're gonna pair it with Shachi. That's the reason why we counter out early, so that, you know, we're expecting to take the next hit, right? And we're gonna swing for 7. And he's going to give up a 2k counter for this, right? And if he doesn't, if he gets over 7 cards later on, I think that's actually really good, because in case we draw a blocker law, play down a blocker, and get rid of their hand size. So, win-win. And he takes it. Okay, so yeah, we're looking for that blocker law right now. It's looking good. One of the things you need to look out for, I think RP Luffy is really, really strong when he's able to play his ramp options. If he's able to get a Zorojuro out, if he's able to use Lead Performer, or just any sort of ramp, right? I think him getting closer to that 9 Dawn, that 10 Dawn state, that's when he can basically use Dawn minus effects for free because of his leader ability, being able to ramp 1 if he's 8 Dawn or higher. So he swings 8 into Zoro, perfectly fine by us, you know. That's essentially a pseudo blocker now. Ooh, whoa! So he plays Otama Vista to get rid of Shachi. Wow, that is quite insane. All right, so unfortunately, I think right here we're gonna have to go. We're gonna have to go quite hard, right? This is a little bit of a waste, but we're gonna go ahead and really get the tempo. I think he's at 8 Dawn next. He's gonna go up to 9. He's probably gonna play Whitebeard and swing at us. So we're gonna preemptively go ahead and play Ace minus minus. We're gonna ramp to 3 minus and play the Trafalgar Law. I mean, it's a shame. Like we just use so many debuffs. I really expected him to play something bigger. It would have been better if he played an actual, you know, creature. But we're gonna swing 7 here, and we're not gonna swing with the Usta's kid. We just don't want him. We don't have any counters. right? If he swings into it, it's tough, right? He could still play that 7-cost kid, get himself up to 7k, and have Dawn to spare. And yeah, if he does that, then we're losing. So we're gonna leave it up for the next turn. Oh, and he draws a jet pistol. All right, this game is tough. Not sure if we can swing this. That jet pistol trigger is, if you're a red deck, right? I think everyone should be running at least 4 jet pistols. The trigger is just really, really good. And even in your hand, it's pretty useful, right? 4 cost, blows up a 6k. Right, all right. He plays 9 cost Whitebeard, and we get another trigger, which is great. We get a Zoro. That's convenient. All right, so here's the great part about Ace, right? Is that he's a 7k body. It's really awesome. We're gonna use it. Right, first up, Fire Fist, get it down to 6,000. We're gonna Gordon, and then we're gonna bring out Zoro, and we're just gonna swing at his life. Okay, so I think the first thing we should do is count our Dons. So that's 3, and then we bring out Zoro, so we should be at 5 more. Probably what we want to do right now is he's at 8, right? Oh. So we want to get 2 swings here, 4 or 5. So I think we can do probably this 8k swing. I'm gonna go ahead and Fire Fist, and we're gonna blow up the other Otama. That's great. So 6,000, 3,000, right on the money right here. We're gonna want Dawn Effect. Bottom deck that, play the Zoro, and then we're gonna 9k swing with our Law. Right, so he's gonna give up another counter here. This does put a little bit of pressure on him, right? If he does play Whitebeard, I think we're actually gonna counter out 3k, and we're gonna save our ace, and we're just gonna swing at his face anyway. So it's a pretty good position. Nice, very nice. And now he uses Jet Gatling and gets rid of his kid. Pretty sure he's gonna do the Luffy. I don't know if I am able to survive it. I wish I was able to get a blocker up, but we'll see. All right, so he's swinging at. So he doesn't have that 10 cost Luffy, which is great. So, you know, sometimes you just don't have the Luffy. I think a lot of RP Luffy decks are running just 2, so they would have to search for it. Okay, so I think 9 costs. Not gonna lie, I think if he does a Luffy and he swings, I think I still have to take this, just in general. So, he's probably gonna do some blockers here. Nice, yeah. Like very telegraphed, right? All right, so are we able to beat him this turn? Right? I think we have to go for it because there's just nothing we can do. What's the cheapest way? So we could play Law, and that's 4 cost, or we could play Otama, and then we still have to minus it. I think what we're gonna do, we're gonna be a little bit of cheap here, okay? So I'm gonna swing 6, right? I'm gonna swing 6. He might block with Marco, he might not, right? Because he's scared I might have to play blockers and stuff. I think he's gonna counter out of this one. Okay, he takes it. Okay. This is great. The reason why I swung for 6 is because I'm playing Fire Fist, and then I'm going to... Oh my god, these triggers are crazy. I'm going to play Fire Fist right here, and I'm going to bottom deck with 3 Dawn. Dude, double Fire Fist. That is so crazy, man. I think I shouldn't have played it. Let's see. We're gonna swing 6 here, right? You know, I think we could swing 7 and then we could swing 10. But yeah, we're going to swing 6 here. I think this is the best calcs. All right, now he has to do Blast Breath. And hopefully he doesn't have all the counters. 10k swing. If he has it, he has it. Oh, there we go. All right, so he used everything in his hand to survive. Oh my gosh. Does he have a Luffy? Does he have a blocker Luffy? That's crazy if he does. Oh, GG's. That was a really, really close game. So, you know, it does come down the wire in this matchup. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. So we just finished up 2 amazing games against Katakuri and RP Luffy, and I got to show you guys, some peculiar mechanics behind the deck and how it's played in real life, and what would lead to your success win conditions. This is typically the type of content that you'd see over in our Patreon side, except we have, my team that I always give credit for, a group of them basically making these guides 24/7 and covering a wide range of in-depth profiles and walkthroughs. But I do want to say from the bottom of my heart, I really do appreciate everyone here, and I can't wait for 2024 for this YouTube channel. We're going to cover everything One Piece TCG has to offer, and yeah, thank you guys, and see you next time. We're going to have a blast. Peace.